So welcome everybody for the people that have tuned in and for the panelists today. I'm Lloyd Skinner. I'm the CEO and founder of Greyfly.ai. For today's event, we've had 1,300 registrations from over 90 countries. And I think that really reflects how popular this subject of AI is becoming across all disciplines, but obviously today we're talking about our profession, project management, as it were. And I was saying to somebody the other day, every day there's a new person or a new story on my LinkedIn field talking about AI in project management, and certainly, you know, when we started our journey 4+ years ago, I just couldn't believe that there was going to be so many people talking about AI and project management, and I personally really believe this sudden boom is been as a result of ChatGPT at the beginning of the year. I'm sure there's more to add to it than that. And today I'm really fortunate to be joined by what I can only describe as global project management experts. All three of them leaders in their field, and I'm totally honored that they've given up their free time to join me and join us for this discussion today and this conversation about AI and project management. So let me just take a moment to introduce each panelist. So firstly, Americo Pinto. So Americo is the founder and CEO of the PMO Global Alliance. It's the world's largest community of PMO professionals with 20,000 members from 125 different countries. The Alliance is responsible for initiatives such as the PMO Global Award and the PMO Value Ring methodology, which now has 20,000 users worldwide. He's an international consultant, speaker, project manager, professor, researcher, and author of 3 project management books. He's worked with organizations such as Compass, Deloitte, Arthur Andersen. He's received the PMI Distinguished Award for his contribution to the global PM community. He's now, and I don't know how he finds the spare time, a doctoral student at the University of Bordeaux, already holds an MBA. His vision is that the Alliance becomes the one-stop shop for the PMO profession. And lastly, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to a forthcoming conference that Americo is organising. Do go to the PMO GA website to see this. It's the PMO Uncon. It's 4th and 5th of December in Paris. It's a fantastic opportunity to mix with your fellow PMO peers and to hear from other global experts. So welcome, Americo.
Thank you, Lloyd. It's a great pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. So our next panelist is Lenka Pincott. Lenka is the Chief of Staff to the CEO and President of the PMI Project Management Institute. She oversees the CEO Office Group and has global teams that support items such as executive communications, thought leadership, and content. In her own right, she's an expert in agile transformation, customer centricity, and digitization, and is working with the PMI board and regional leads to apply her experiences to enhance the PMI organizational agility and performance. She's got over 20 years international experience in leading strategic vision and execution, digital transformation, and cultural change. However, I know that she has a passion to empower and mentor others, especially underrepresented groups. She's a keynote speaker, certified project management professional, and a recognized thought leader in both agile and project management. Welcome, Lenka.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, and of course, last but not least, Ricardo Vargas. I fondly refer to Ricardo as the hardest man working in project management. Specifically these days, increasingly about AI in project management. Ricardo has delivered over 250 keynote addresses in more than 4 countries. And according to his website, this year is scheduled to deliver 133 events in 33 countries. His 5 minutes podcast, which is he's hosted since 2007, has reached 12 million views. He's written 16 books on project management, which has been translated into 7 languages and sold over 500,000 copies. He's received the highest recognition from PMI, the Fellow Award. He formerly directed the UN Office for Project Management Services. And I just wanted a last little note in typical style. We're all happy that he's recently safely returned from the Burning Man Festival, where he as usual, he got out of his norm, left his comfort zone, and of course saw the project management angle on, and of how to enhance creativity and the critical thinking for that behind new approaches to project management. So welcome, Ricardo.
Thank you very much, my friend, for the kind introduction. I'm very glad to be here.
Fantastic. Okay, well, just before we dive in then, just a couple of little bits of housekeeping. First of all, on the agenda, there will be Q&As at the end of the discussion. So please use the Q&A button to register any questions you want raised. We're going to be ably supported by my colleague Marcia, who's going to sift through those questions and raise them in due course. There's not the ability to raise hands on this discussion. Last thing is, beyond this discussion, we've already got another panel event which is going to be scheduled for Friday the 24th of November. So please look out for that, where we'll be also talking to other PM global experts, talking about the art of the possible when it comes to technology. So that's all of the initial hustlings. Let's dive in, shall we? So in terms of the agenda, we're going to start off with what is AI in project management. Then we're going to talk about, in particular, the importance of data and project management maturity. Is there a relationship there? What can organizations do to get ready for AI in project management? We'll have a short stop off for a poll to see where people are getting on. And then we'll talk about some real examples and how people are approaching those. And as I said, then into QAs and final takeaways. So we've done about 6 minutes introduction. We're scheduled to finish in about 1 hour and 20 minutes. So, right, let's get going, guys. So first of all, AI in project management. I'm going to get the ball rolling with Lenka on this one in terms of what your views about what it is, Lenka. Do you want to start the conversation?
Thank you, Lord. Thank you for giving me the first word. And I would be very happy if Ricardo and Americo just, chime in and add some more comments to that. So AI in project management, I see basically 2 areas that we can look at that. So one area is indeed how AI can help with the project management discipline as such. And then when we look at it from a different angle, that is, what are the challenges for project managers when they are tasked to implement AI as the technology, as part of their projects? So if I would be talking about the first one, how AI can actually help project management. So before I start, let me just say a few words of what we consider AI as artificial intelligence. So if we say AI, we do not talk necessarily about generative AI, which is that subset of the technology which got very popular recently. But when we talk about AI and application project management, we can mostly talk about application of machine learning or deep learning. And that is something that is already out there for a couple of years. We may not even notice that, but AI is actually used in many project management tools. And I'm not sure, Lloyd, I probably should not say names here, but both for traditional methods, both for agile methods, we all know that, we are assigning tasks to a team member and suddenly the team member is proposed, is suggested, or, we are proposed some frequent tasks to do. So these big tools which are out there, they are using the data that they observe from us running the projects and portfolio of projects, and they are improving their capability, mostly based on machine learning models, to help project managers with some easy decisions like assigning tasks, like a little bit of optimization. Some tools, larger tools, have even ability to improve resource allocation on large scale. It all depends how you implement these tools in your organization and what kind of data are available for them to learn. And then there is a totally different topic, and that is use of generative AI. And I know that Ricardo is very invested in this one, so I'm thinking that maybe I stop here and I just give him space to talk about the role of generative AI in project management.
Thanks, Lenka. Yes, I'm working a lot on generative AI. And what happened, we were just speaking before here, we go online. What ChatGPT did, it's different because at first it puts AI in the mainstream, in the hands of anyone. Anyone today can use and can benefit from AI. So instead of just going on research or very specific applications. And why I am so excited / concerned about generative AI, because it's for the first time we are using machines not to discriminate data, but to generate data. And this is a very different game, because one thing it's for us, for example, to use data to optimize, for example, like I did a couple of years ago in a paper, to optimize, for example, the project management cost of, to optimize resources, or to evaluate the size of your contingency reserve. But we never thought about using generative AI, for example, to craft the scope of a project. Or, for example, in an infrastructure project, to do the design of the project. For example, today there are generative AI tools that you give just the space you need and what you need there, and it will generate through AI the possibilities that you can build there. And this is what is absolutely new. And these start to take a role when these evolve on the creative side. And this is why
we've just lost you a little bit.
It will change Sorry? Okay, if generative AI becomes mainstream, as we think, then it will change dramatically what we do today in terms of project management. It will, because part of this creative side could be initially supported by generative AI. And in the future, just challenging to enrich the conversation, maybe replace the creative side. And this is why I said I'm very excited and at the same time concerned.
I think that's a great intro from Lenka and Ricardo. And I'm just going to come back to Lenka's point in 1 second. But before I do that, Americo, anything to add from your perspective about what is AI in project management?
Yes, so it's great to be with you today and talk about this interesting topic. I totally agree with Ricardo when he said that the point is now things are available for everyone, right? Ordinary people can leverage, all the power of AI in a very simple way, and it makes all difference right now. And we know that what we have is just the very beginning. Actually, probably in I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years, everything that we discussed today, if we look behind, we will say that, wow, how things just changed, and how much we didn't know almost anything about that, So it's a big challenge to discuss AI in this perspective. But anyway, I just would like to bring something additional to this discussion, that is not only the impact over organizations, but over people, right? So yes, people will be replaced in some different ways, depending on what you do, project managers, PMO people, for example. And usually people say that you will be replaced not by AI, but by someone that knows how to use AI. Okay, it's a very optimistic point of view, but we know that depending on what we are doing, most of the job of a lot of people, even in project management area, is ordinary work, things that definitely AI can replace us in a very great way. Is it the end? Absolutely. Actually, there will be many other opportunities. I'm sure about that. Something that we will discuss today. But there's this people viewpoint is something that I believe we should be really concerned in an optimistic way. But anyway, it's something that will impact individuals that work in project management area or in PMO. So it's a very interesting discussion for today.
Fantastic. And can I just chime with Americo's point about, what is it? What will it be in the future? This morning, somebody downloaded an article off my website, which was the state of AI in project management. And I quickly checked. It was written 3 years ago. Now, can you imagine what we wrote 3 years ago compared to today? The generative side didn't even exist then. So I definitely concur with Americo. And obviously I need to get that document updated, people. But can I just go back to Lenka's point, because I think it's the first time that I've heard this more recently about, let's not forget there's projects to deliver AI as well. And I think that's what you were referring to, Lenka.
Yes, which I see as another very current challenge for project managers, because one thing is that, as I said, AI, which is part of many project management tools already, that can help them today to execute. But then as we are looking at the data, how AI is progressing, and it's very interesting to see that the first question, if AI can even exist and how to define it, was actually asked in 1950 by Alan Turing, right? So it took some time for us to get where we are today. And the recent development enabled this widespread of generative AI. But AI is with us for already some time. And many companies in many industries, they are using AI already, either for personalization of their digital services, for security, for fraud detection, for many different tasks, for optimization of resources, etc. But now, as AI is getting again more popular and more widespread, then project managers can face these challenges that they will be more and more assigned on projects that are supposed to implement AI. And this is very interesting, because that means that they need to be fluent in the technology. That's the first thing, because as they will be dealing with other experts and specialists, they need to find a common language, they need to understand the technology, and they need to be able to learn fast. Then I believe that when you implement AI, which is disruptive, emerging technology, it's very similar when you are implementing any other technology with these characteristics and with this disruptive potential, that you need to gain some experience how to implement it. So when I recall, when I was part of teams prior to my joining to PMI, when we were implementing AI on our own internal projects, we were first experimenting on small scale, trying it, getting touch and feel of the technology, not investing that much at the first steps. And only later, when we were able to see benefits, then we were scaling up. And I think that this is very important, that because as any other technology, it requires investments. So then I would recommend for project managers also to think, like, how can you show early enough on the project that whatever you're doing, that is beneficial for the company and actually deserves that investment further on.
Excellent. So I'm just going to summarize what I think we've said as a group. I think what we're saying in terms of what is it, I think we're talking about tools to enable decision making, tools to improve workflow efficiency. We're also talking about the whole generative side, but again, that's ultimately about driving efficiency. I think the additional piece that we've also talked about is actually from a project management point of view is the delivery of AI type projects as well. So you know, this is vast ranging here now. So and I'm sure we've also caveated by some of this you know, inverted commas challenges, in particular when we talked about the people side. But for the moment, let's just talk about, you know, why do businesses need this? Why is this AI and project management subject so important? Americo, do you want to start us going on this secondary question? Why AI and project management?
Right. So, in fact, if we analyze project management, there are many tasks that are repetitive. So actually, there is a big potential in terms of gaining efficiency, and, for example, resource allocation, decision-making about your portfolio, risk management, no doubt about that. So everything that you have, that you can have data, there is a great potential, right, to get a lot of benefits, I believe. And even if you don't have data, if we still have data that was not generated by yourself, actually you can get good lessons from that. So it's not in your context, you should do that by yourself, but anyway, there will be some guidance, you know, guidance based on what people are doing, the results that are being generated, so we can have access to a large amount of information that will help us on making great decisions. And from the perspective of a PMO, this is something that I would like to bring also to this discussion, because project managers, they will use in many different ways, tools and you know, solutions related to AI, but the PMO usually is the one that select the solutions, the one that craft or design solutions for the company, for their customers, project managers, for example. So the responsibility that a PMO will have in the next few years, it's not only about have a good domain on the tools, but they should understand the pains, the real pains, and use AI to solve them, to create the solutions that will support project managers, executives, make things more effective, efficient, and with better outcomes. So the role of PMOs as a solution designer, I believe, will become much more critical, because many possibilities will arise in the next years, things that we have no idea about them yet, but they will open a large possibility of great outcomes, great benefits from all these changes. So I see PMOs suffering a larger impact, maybe, because of this. You know, it's not only about, okay, this is the tool, you should use it from now on. They should craft something that makes sense for that context, for that company, and as anyone that is designing something, you should have a very broad knowledge and background. Otherwise, you cannot do that.
So driving efficiencies, and efficiencies tend to come with savings, and that are normally measured by financial savings. I'm just going to hop into Ricardo in terms of the need for it, which I assume is associated with benefits in some form, Ricardo.
Yeah, for me, honestly, it's even more than that. It's a survival thing. Because what happened is that the environment is changing so dramatically that if you are not ready to incorporate new technologies and new trends into your business, you just become irrelevant, because the landscape of business is changing in such a dramatic pace. Remember, 9 months ago, we didn't even know what OpenAI was about. And now we're talking about a company that is worth billions and billions of dollars, and it's becoming part of the life. And there are many things up to come, as Americo said. And what, for example, many people ask me, Ricardo, why you just jump in so strongly on AI? It's because I have no other option. I have no other option. It means if I don't do that, I will become absolutely irrelevant very soon. So this is why business need to be ready. And for example, I'm suspect because I love the PMBOK guide and people know that. And the PMBOK guide 7th edition, one of the principles for me, it's adaptability. And this for me is at the core. We need to adapt. For example, we don't know what will be the tool in the future, how it will look like, but we need to be able as project to adapt and reinvent our PMO, the way we deliver projects. And this is, for me, the main reason why business need to be ready for it.
Wow, just wow. So to survive, we need to get on this AI and project management. Lenka, anything to add to that from your perspective?
Oh, yeah, no, I fully agree with Ricardo and Americo on that. I have a couple of data here for the discussion, because I was recently looking at the evolution of the project management profession itself. And so, for instance, one thing which is recognized as influencing the project management profession itself is, in the 90s, the rise of personal computers, emails, and internet. Not only because that we as people started to communicate differently, but it gave us tools so that projects could be managed differently. Basically moving from pen and paper to spreadsheets, to to calculation, to controlling processes, and we as project managers gain new capabilities. Then later came smartphones and apps, applications. So again, we started to communicate differently, we started to manage things differently. It opened new opportunities. In 2000, rise of social media, connectivity, we started to work on projects with shared documents. Then came other applications of technology, such as targeted ads, which basically comes also with AI, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and then now in 2020s we have the rise of AI. So every decade we see some major breakthrough, and it's not only influencing the profession itself because it's giving us different tools, it presents us with new challenges, but it's also, and this is what Ricardo was talking about, influencing the businesses as such. Everybody needs to evolve because technologies are constantly progressing. We constantly go further and further. And this progression of AI is remarkable because also it's very important to understand why was AI even developed, the artificial intelligence, like what was the original purpose of that? And that was to basically not only to simulate human intelligence, but to create autonomy, to help us to have something, a tool, a computer, to perform low value added tasks instead of us. Basically help us to remove some of the decision making that we would do as humans to something, machine, that can do it for us so that we can do other things. So for instance, autonomous vehicles, when you're moving from place A to B, it's not about the driving. I mean, it's about transporting yourself from A to B. I know that a lot of people may not agree. I love to drive, I love cars. But when you think about it, this transportation is low value added. So disruptive technologies like AI are really, once they progress, they influence everything. And as Ricardo is saying, and as Americo is saying, we can't stop it. We either embark this journey, we embrace it, but there's no way of fighting it or hiding.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Can I just say, for one, I definitely don't remember the advent of the computer in the 90s. I'm far too young for that. So thank you for that, Lenka. That's fantastic little points there, and really interesting about, where is that bar set in terms of low value added. Just in the interest of time, I'm actually going to move on now into the next part of the discussion, and we've touched on this in the various functions of what AI in project management is. But certainly when I speak to people, everybody seems to jump on the, the single biggest constraint is about data. And how does that relate to the execution of AI in project management? So I'm going to talk now with you guys about data and the importance of data. And those questions, we can pick and choose those as we go. But Ricardo, do you want to get us going and talking about the importance of data and your angle about data and project management maturity and AI, as it were, in project management?
Okay, no, that's perfect. I just want to start saying the obvious: garbage in, garbage out. So if your data is crap, there is no AI tool that will transform this. For example, when people are talking now about bias in AI, I say, no, AI has no bias. You have bias on the data, but AI just processes. AI does not know rationally what is going on. It's just calculating probabilities of what the next word will be, what the next pixel will be to draw. It has no clue that it's drawing the Mona Lisa or something else. But this is the first step. But I want just to challenge one thing that I am seeing recently, that I'm saying it's not ready yet, but it may change, because one of the biggest challenges we face in project management is to have data to analyze, right? Because companies do not have the structured data and this to make, I would say, good and reliable predictions. However, there are a lot of companies working on that, on using tools like probably few of you have heard, called AutoGPT. It's data generated on the top of data that was generated by machine learning. So it means it's not real data, but it's a data that simulates real data, and it will speed up your process. Let me give you one example, okay? ChatGPT, what ChatGPT did, ChatGPT, okay, let me be very basic here. ChatGPT took all content that was written by humans and that is available and transform it into tokens to generate new words, right? That's the basic. But what happens now, for example, today, there are more music being generated by AI than all music that existed before. So what will happen in this second wave is that new music will be generated, not by training on old music produced by humans, but on music produced by other AI tools. It means that the data will be generated. And if this becomes reliable and true, this will be a massive breakthrough. Because then with a very few data on the human side, you can have a very absolutely decent forecast, not based on reality. This sounds strange, but based on data that was once in a time generated by humans. And this is something that could go exponentially. And just to give you an idea, there are billions and billions of dollars putting in this kind of technology today. There are hundreds of startups working exactly on that, not specifically on project management, but in all levels of knowledge. So, and this is why we see a very different landscape today when we talk about data.
Yeah, I'm aware. In my world, we call it synthetic data, where the data is being created to model and stimulate this. Yeah. So, Lenka, what's your take on this and data and the importance of data in these models?
Well, so this is a very interesting question. So I have a couple of points to that. So first of all, yes. Garbage in, garbage out. But this is not that easy because, for instance, when we talk specifically about project management, and to be able to use the data from projects, for instance, for risks analysis, for forecasting, for scheduling, we need to be sure that these data are integrated, available, accurate. Some of the data, which if we get them from other systems, for instance, about our resources, from, I don't know, attendance system, or from other systems that are tracking project tasks, can be correct. Some other data that we enter as human might be biased by us. For instance, this can be influenced such a thing like lack of culture of transparency. You know, if I want to share the real status of the project and write it somewhere, I need to be confident that I can do that. This data accuracy is very important because, again, depends on what technology we use. But for instance, for the machine learning technology, there must be implemented a feedback loop that helps us to self-correct the model based on the data and based on the correctness of the outcome. So the data are absolutely key to be successful with AI. However, there is always some margin of error. And this is, for instance, when I hear Ricardo talking about this synthetic data or data which are generated based on the other data, this would be a little of my worry. So if we already have some margin of error in the data which are generated by generative AI, there is some margin of error, and then we generate another data based on this margin of error, isn't it leading to multiplication of that margin of error? This would be something that I would be just cautious, but it's still fine because that really depends on on what use cases we want to use artificial intelligence as such. Because in some use cases, a small margin of error is not a big deal. On other use cases, it might be totally different situation. And then because today we talk about project managers, then I have my own personal worry, and that is that it's still us humans who are making the decisions. It's still my responsibility if I decide, for instance, I need a new resource, if I allocate responsibility this and that way, if I decide to stop or accelerate or something. So we as humans, we need to have trust in whatever is generated by these models. And we still need to train our own cognitive abilities and our abilities to make the right decisions. So we should not get lazy by whatever data are generated for us. We still need to challenge ourselves, ask the right questions. So of course, with all these tools, it helps us to be more focused on strategic and more important tasks, which is great. But I would say that we should not expect that all the job should be done by a machine for us.
Excellent.
May I just jump in, Lloyd, because what Lenka said is just like music for me. There is one point that for me is critically important. It's also the ethical side, and not because Lenka pointed on the mistakes, okay, then the mistakes can propagate, but also if someone has not the right intention, synthetic data can be produced to manipulate and to alter perceptions about risks, perceptions about budget. And this is what scares me a lot, that few people could, I would say, dominate, I would say, and shape the future cognitive systems of people, not only to become late, but to understand things in the way they want. And this for me is absolutely scary, okay?
Yeah, I think Lenka also said that the point that really chimed with me was about it depends on the use case. And what I was thinking as she was speaking was, you do a risk workshop where as a collective of humans, you write the mitigation plan down. And let's say in this particular case, we log it into a spreadsheet, but now we're logging it into some system that's going to feed back the mitigation plans on risks. And is that good data or is that bad data? Because who knows whether that actually resulted in the mitigation of that risk that then the project succeeded. So it's a really mute point, I think, between what you can and can't trust, as it were, and ultimately it's got to come back to the success of projects. Americo, anything to add, sir, about the relationship between data and project management success?
Yes, this is a very interesting point. We have in our community, we have a large group of members discussing AI for PMOs, and one of the questions was, okay, who can use it, right? So is there any prerequisite, so is that something only for mature companies, or for those companies that have a lot of data? So if you don't have data, if you don't have maturity, you cannot leverage AI. Actually, it's not exactly like that. Of course, if you want something too much sophisticated, possibly if you want to create, for example, your all database with your all context, of course, you need all these things. But even today, most of the companies, they are not at the top of the pyramid, right, in terms of maturity and data quality. What can we give to them, and what we realize in that discussions is, actually, even if you don't have data, it doesn't mean that you cannot use it, because data is there. It's not yours. It means that you have to understand, you have to really know, you need expertise to create a context and to analyze what will come to you. I'm talking about generative AI. So what will come to you in terms of outcomes, you need to be able to analyze that and see if it makes sense or not. But it's something amazing, because it will give you some ideas, some direction, something that you don't need to follow, because you have your ability to analyze that results. But you can rely on what comes from the AI, at least to inspire you when you are creating, you are making a decision, or you are creating a solution. I do that almost every day. ChatGPT is one of my best friends, but it can't do my job, right? But it can help me a lot, and sometimes I create a context, I provide some data, but I'm far from providing, a very well-established and structured environment of data. No, most of the time, no. But I know what I want. I can create a very interesting context. I can analyze what comes in terms of responses, and it saved me a lot of time and give me a lot of inspiration sometimes. So I see that it's something that is available for everyone, even when you don't have all these important points that are necessary if you want to create something more sophisticated. Big companies obviously will go in this direction, but it's something for any ordinary company, with all the challenges that we know that all of us have them, So it's something, it's a word of hope, I think.
Yeah, I love that point, America. I love the point that you're suggesting. Even if you've got low data maturity, there are tools and products that can help you gain some benefit now. And playing it back to Ricardo's earlier point, in terms of survival as well, you do need to start this journey around data as well. But there are some instant benefits to be had. I'm going to move the conversation on now from this point around data and talk about readiness, because you've teed us up perfectly, Americo. So thank you for that, sir. In terms of what do companies need to do to move forward on this journey, and I think we've gone full circle. So I'm going to go back to Lenka now in terms of some instant thoughts in terms of getting ready for this AI and PM journey.
Right. So I think that's always make or buy decision that comes first, because it really depends what is the objective of AI implementation in your project management, what you want to achieve. If you're just looking for tools that are helpers for your job, then I believe that buying that solution will be probably fastest and easiest way. And sometimes you don't even need to go and buy it nowadays, because many big providers, big names that are offering project management tools, and not only tools, but basically full, let's say, office tools that most of us who work in larger companies have already installed in our computers. So they are enriching, they are enhancing their tools that we all use every day with AI capabilities. So then, of course, we are dependent on progress of these larger companies to give us what we need, but we don't need to develop it by ourselves. Then the other different use case would be if you want to have AI tool that is offering you proprietary value for your own project management. And here I would probably talk more about PMO and about portfolio management, because on individual projects, of course, you can achieve certain value, but I think that for larger companies, bigger value will probably come from having tools that help you optimize your project portfolio. And even if you are in a situation where you have actually a hybrid project portfolio, so you are operating with different ways of project delivery. This is a very interesting topic, because if you apply different ways of work, then you also apply different ways of optimizing and scheduling your resources, because these teams, for instance, agile teams or classic project teams, they have different life cycles, they have different cadence, they have different iterations, but the resources are more or less the same resources in the company, if we don't talk about contractors, but don't want to complicate it right now. So for that, guys, if you would want to have internally developed AI tool, that's like a little bit different story. And then we would need to probably go back to that discussion about data maturity and fully understanding what is the purpose of this project portfolio that you're managing, that you want to optimize. And most important discussion would be, how do you actually optimize it for the value? What is that value that you want to create? And I think this discussion, it's even more like strategic discussion, but it has to happen before you implement these tools.
Fantastic. And I love the idea that you said there about, well, it depends on what you're trying to achieve in the first place. What's your objectives? And, inverted commas, what's your strategy around AI and project management? And certainly, as we know, larger companies are likely to create a strategy. Ricardo, should I bring you back in terms of your thoughts on this subject?
What I agree completely with Lenka on what she said, that you need to think, but I want just to add a second thing. Things are moving so fast that at some point you need to make a decision, because if you say, okay, we need to analyze this better, and then you just miss that track while others are moving very fast. And this is one point. And how do we do that? The first thing I would suggest is that do not use denial as an excuse. And why I'm saying this, because most of the companies said people are forbidden to use ChatGPT. People, for example, I will just use an example of my youngest daughter. My youngest daughter, she studies at Imperial College in London. And in February, she received a message from the school saying, you are forbidding using ChatGPT is cheating, and we will look to you, and we'll punish you and this. And then when she showed that to me, I told her, I say, look, these will not stop people from using. And then 3 months or 4 months later, do you know what Imperial and all the schools in the UK said? They said, we need to teach people how to use it. And now she has classes on how to use ChatGPT on an ethical side. Because, denial will not get you ready. So companies, for example, I remember when Antonio and I, we did our first masterclass 2 months ago, probably the center of our discussion was privacy. And privacy was used as an excuse to not use, for example, generative AI. Okay, we cannot use because we cannot put our data. And do you know what I said? And say, look, people are throwing billions on that. I am sure companies will provide a private, secure environment very soon. And then 4 weeks ago, OpenAI released the enterprise subscription that sort this out. And this is obvious. Why? Because there is too much money involved on that and too much vested interest. So companies need to embrace. Of course, you can embrace in a much lower risk. And I want to use Lenka's point on the first question, is that you need to start small. Don't start doing everything, but you need to start somewhere. For example, you can take in your portfolio some smaller, I would say less critical and to train and to learn and to get used to that. I'm not saying that you will use this in your most relevant project. And this is a step-by-step. You know, that I am completely against this big bang approach, you know, that you change everything. And Agile is perfect for that. You know, build an MVP, start using, learn from that, and then you upgrade. And this is the way to get ready for that, you know, because if you don't start now, it will be very hard for you to catch up.
Excellent, excellent, and I agree with that. Somebody said the other day the old crawl, walk, run, and I think that's quite an interesting one. It does dovetail with the previous conversation about, you know, what are you trying to achieve, what's the state of your data, and then carve out an approach. Americo, anything to add? Just we're going to try and make up time in 1 second. So if you've got anything that you can just add into that from your point of view.
Let me just add an example of what Ricardo well said a few moments ago. There is a very interesting case that I'm observing with some excitement. There is a PMO that they are creating an AI chatbot to replace the current activities in terms of support on the methodology, on software. So actually they are using generative AI. Everything is based on this concept, and people will keep in touch with the PMO through a chatbot, and the operator, right, will respond and create solutions and provide recommendations, everything based on the context of the company, but supported by AI. So it's actually now in the beginning of operation, but it looks really, you know, interesting, exciting, with a great potential, and the results are really attractive, you know, and compelling to how can I say, sell the value of this idea. And so you can try new steps, you know, and step by baby steps. I could say that it's a good approach, as Ricardo said.
I was trying to move the conversation on, Americo, but you've just dropped something in there which is absolutely fascinating, you know, on a number of levels, in terms of the future of the PMO, the impact on the people within the PMO, etc. Is it too early to ask any of those questions around, you know, what they see as the impacts?
Actually, I believe that we are still in the very beginning of this journey, but we already can see some impacts, especially in this low value added tasks, you know. So we already have some tools, some solutions available today that can improve a lot all of these things. So actually, yes, I believe that there is an impact right now, but most of the PMOs that we have been studying, all of them, they see a potential, but they don't know exactly how to start. Things still look very complex, you know, but when they realize that with a baby steps approach, you can start to leverage, you know, leverage AI and get some initial benefits, and these benefits will push you ahead. So this is something that we can see today, I believe.
I love that. So in summary, work out what you're trying to achieve, pull together a strategy, but don't wait. You know, get on with some stuff and get some real benefits coming through now. And thank you for that example, Americo, as well. Just to remind you, we've got another event, and that sounds like I might have to speak to you afterwards, Americo, and find out who's talking to you about that, because that's what we want to talk about, the art of the possible. And you know, I think Ricardo mentioned it earlier. This thing is moving so fast. You know, so even by the time we've done that event, I'm sure there will be more examples before and after it. So we're just going to move on now, and Sang, who's one of our able assistants, is going to talk to us about loading a poll up. So we're just going to give you a couple of minutes, and the poll is about, you know, where is your organization at in terms of preparation around data? And you can see the answers there in terms of, do you have a data set, basically. Sang, do you want to launch the poll, and we'll just there you go. We'll just give it a couple of minutes. I don't know where people will sit in there. I know we've got several hundred people, so I'm quite intrigued, because in a way this is almost sort of saying the level of maturity of organizations as well. So we'll just give people another few seconds. It looks like it's settling down. The good news is that there's very few people who are unsure, which means that we've got the right people on the call, no doubt. So Ricardo, if you were answering this question, where do you think that you would plumb for the answer?
Yeah, I will not talk about my company, but I will try to guess where people will stand. I think they will stand between B and C. Okay, I would say a little bit more towards C than B. Okay, I will doubt, unless they are, I would say, large and very structured companies that will have everything organized. I would say, based on my experience, you know, we don't see that very often. Yeah. It's not very common to see that.
And you can see that's coming through. We'll just keep chatting a little bit to give those last people an opportunity to answer, as it were. It certainly looks like you were right. In fact, it's neck and neck at the moment. Look, in terms of having those data sets, and I think that is sort of reflective of, you know, the nascent nature of the beginnings of AI in project management. Lenka, from your point of view, and not necessarily about your organization, but, you know, as Ricardo was suggesting, your thoughts there, any surprises from your point of view there?
You mean on the questionnaire?
Yeah, in terms of where you think the answers will be.
Well, the answers will be, you know, I would guess that recorded data in different formats, and also probably stored in different places. I think that it's because, you know, when you look at companies, there is quite a normal evolution of governance models, or, you know, also of methods and formats and techniques, how you store your data. And so companies that actually ever store these projects data, I would assume that there are all sorts of different things. Like PowerPoints, Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, something on shared drives, Confluence, Jira, you know, data stored in different tools. So yeah. I would not really expect a structured, organized data set.
Yeah, I want to know those companies who are structured and organized, because they're the you know, in my mind, they're probably the ones that are more mature. And you're right, Lenka, that actually there's probably a combination between B and C together, as it were. So I'm sharing the results now. So Sang, if you can share. Can everybody see the results?
Yes.
So and I'm conscious I didn't ask you, Americo, but it looks like our learned colleagues have called it out completely correct in terms of B and C, so as being the prevalent ones. It's good to see that actually D is you know, starting not to be the case as well. I mean, again, that shows that people are taking up this subject. But Americo, do you think that reflects what you thought the answer would be as well?
Yes, but there is something interesting that I think we should add, that possibly what we see here is an optimist point of view, because actually there are many people, many companies that they don't know exactly what these things mean, you know. So actually what is recorded data but stored in different places, you know, there will be some people that maybe will say, no, actually I have letter B, right? But if you look in the microscope, you will see that things maybe can be a little less organized.
I concur with that.
That's what
maybe
my
it's E.
experience.
Maybe it's not B, but E, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So
Well,
I think letter D is
well,
higher than what we
yeah,
can do.
I would concur, because I've certainly worked with organizations who have told me that their data is really mature. And by the time you have a quick look at it and a quick snip around and maybe, you know, professionally grade the level of data maturity, they realize that perhaps they can do things better. But I think the point is here that data maturity is starting to be on everybody's lips as the importance of this, and it is running in parallel. There's definitely a recognition of this. So thank you for everybody that took part in that. Obviously, we will share both the video and the transcripts of this conversation going forward. So I'm going to move on. The time is really flying for us, and I'm sure people wanted to hear more about examples, and I have to start with Ricardo on this one, because I know he has a number of examples. So Ricardo, could you give us your sort of top 3 of examples of not just products but actual use cases with benefits, if you're starting to see benefits, as it were?
Okay, I will try to be more generic here, but what I can see, it's several organizations and teams using generative AI to help in process like brainstorming. For example, helping in projects like risk identification using, for example, when you use Delphi, you use NGT, this kind of technique of data collection, and you use a GPT-like or BART or Bing to help you to get initial insights of information. So this is something that I see, and I see people using it right now, okay? This is the first use case. The second use case I see, it's people using ChatGPT analytics that is on the paid version to analyze data. For example, I did a work 2 to 3 weeks ago where we did a portfolio management analysis and a project selection using a spreadsheet with 10 different criteria and the score of, I remember, something like 25 projects. And we use ChatGPT and the analytics power to suggest me initially what would be the top 5 projects that I should do in terms of strategic value. And honestly, the first initial suggestion that took ChatGPT probably, I would say, 2 minutes to do was very solid, was very, very solid. And this was something like 2 weeks ago. So this is the second one. The third one is on doing retrospective in Agile. So, for example, the use of, for example, I would say CRISP or Otter to collect data, but right now on Zoom, right? I'm using Zoom. These two we are using now, using the AI companion and the AI summary. And then we did the retrospective online like this here, and this is also a real case. And we use the summary AI feature that is free for all Pro users to help us to craft the retrospective. So they saved all the time on making the minutes and this. So these are some 3 examples. I'm talking very low-hanging fruits, okay? Very low-hanging that people can use almost now to do that. And let me give you a final one. There is a tool called Magic To Do that is a free tool. I just love it, just to break things down. So you write the topic of whatever you want, and you just press the plus button and you start crafting your WBS chart. And why I'm showing you this, because we don't need to think about rocket science application. We can see things that people can use right now. And these will stimulate people to feel more comfortable, because right now there's a lot of people that are afraid of AI. And this is a big roadblock for us to move on.
And I think it dovetails with your point earlier about getting on with stuff rather than waiting, 6 to 12 months to work out your strategy. Get some value now, people.
No, 6 from 12, Lloyd, I cannot stop. Yeah. 6 from 12 months, we will be living in another planet in terms of AI. Another planet. Okay, we'll watch this here saying, oh, look how we thought in the past. Look, what is going on today, it's different. It's different. The speed is different.
So I love all of this conversation. Americo, you've already given us one example from your PMO community. Do you have other examples that are coming your way about and real case studies? If in particular, when you're considering how to answer this, if you're hearing real value that's coming out now.
Well, I mentioned the PMO support chatbot. Anyway, there is another one that is quite interesting. There is a company that is creating a whole training program, and everything is based on AI, including avatars that will be the instructors. So they are using some specific tools that are available right now, and it's totally perfect. Actually, they use their material that is available on PPTs, Word, Excel, so everything is converted in PDFs. Everything is added to this AI. This way they generate the content of the courses. There are a couple of them. These courses are detailed using a ChatGPT. After that, they use all this text to create slides automatically. And finally, they create the speech of the avatars, and it's perfect. Sometimes it's not possible, to differentiate if it's an avatar or not, depending the tool that you are using. There are some of them really, really sophisticated, and they already released 2 of these courses, and people, and finally, people can interact with that database of information that they use it to create the course as a chatbot, so they can talk with the instructor live, real time, right, in a certain way, and ask new questions and clarify some specific needs, and it's working really nice. People are appreciating the experience, and the results look really interesting. And the investment is not really high, but the results are quite impressive.
Fantastic. And it's great to hear all of these examples. Lenka, obviously, I'm sure PMI have a take on all of this and are really looking at this. Have you got some case studies, examples that have come through to you in this area?
Well, I think you will have to wait a little bit. We are currently gathering these examples from our community to be able to share and to inspire others. I believe there will be a lot. And thank you, Ricardo and Americo, for sharing. I can mention, as we are talking, start small. So I guess all of us, we use these little assistants for meeting minutes, etc. But what is very nice is, for instance, when you use real-time translation. And this is something because we work in a global environment with a lot of people who are not native English speakers, and we were recently bridging conversation between people, and we were using this real-time translation just to help all the team members to get on speed and to be able to participate. So these little things where AI is helping are very useful. I think that there are many use cases that we don't even realize, again, like these little things where AI is actually suggesting, proposing you, for instance, assign this task to this person because this person has the ability to deliver. So all these little helps that we sometimes even can take for granted, I believe, are already out there. Where I would be interested the most is to use not generative AI, but to use machine learning to improve project success overall. But this is very heavy data dependent, and then it requires also that discussion to like to even understand and train these models to help us with determining the drivers for the project success.
Fantastic. You'll have to tell me afterwards about this translation tool, because when I'm going to France soon, certainly my French isn't strong enough. For those that know the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that's exactly the concept that was proposed in the 80s. So thank you for that, people. I can't believe it. We've only actually got 20 minutes left, and although I'm sure there's other examples, I do want to go on, and in particular, I do want to go on in terms of not just the future. If we can try and cover this subject quite quickly, because I want to see what Q&As have come through and see if we can take a couple of Q&As as well. So just very quickly then, Americo, what does the future hold for you in this space?
Well, as I said in the very beginning, I see a great potential. I see that we will benefit a lot from all these rapid changes. We have to be prepared to them in many different ways. I mentioned again when we started the people factor, right? And there are some impacts that really concern to me. For example, it's quite usual till today. This is the way that we do that. But talking about young people, right, and experienced people, usually they gain experience performing low value added tasks, right? That's how they learn under supervision. But when you have AI doing all of this at a lower cost, right, much quicker and with better quality, how much companies will think about the fact that in the long term there will be no sustainability for that? Because, okay, we need people to analyze what's coming. We need creative people to add something to what AI is creating, but we need to develop these people, right? So the way that we will do that maybe will be different, because at the end of the day, companies will look for a better, effective model of work, cheaper, faster. And when I remember the beginning of my career, for example, things that I did at a time, I have no doubt that an AI can do much better today. You know what I'm saying? So why should I be needed in a situation like that? So how young people will be, will fit this new situation, right? Considering the need of developing them, so they will be able in the future to perform a more sophisticated role. But we need to ensure that they will get there. Otherwise, I don't know the impact that it can cause in the long term. It's something that comes to my mind, So,
and it's probably not fair. There's probably a whole discussion on that one page about the impacts of AI in project management. But just very quickly then, in terms of Ricardo and Lenka, do you want to come in here in terms of your headlines around the future?
Yeah, I was almost shaking here because I understood the point of America, but I want to present absolutely an opposite view that just for us to highlight. I do not see a major risk for young people. Why? Because young people will be cheaper. I'm being blunt here, and I know some people will not like what I say, but these young people are being trained and supported by mentor that is an AI mentor. And I know it's very polemic. I think who is running the most risk America, sadly, and I know people will not like what I say, is not the most senior project manager and not the most junior, but those who are in the middle. And this is why, for example, we are seeing companies here at the Silicon Valley, dismissing programmers and replacing them for junior programmers with the power of AI, so this is a very provocative. I'm just saying, I don't know, but both of the situations are very scary for me because, I don't want my daughter to learn project management because she was coached by an AI tool. But this is a trend that we see now. This is why I feel that those who are at the biggest risk in the whole society on AI are not those starting and are not those ending, but are those in exactly this middle. And this is a massive audience. This is how I feel. And I don't know, we need to see the future to see what will truly happen.
Yeah, and the point, just adding to your words, actually, this transition moment is what I believe is the point of discussion, so actually many different things can happen. I've already seen this kind of thing. There is a very good friend that has a kid, and actually he was a trainee in a medium-sized company. There were like 3 or 4 of them in marketing area, and all of them were replaced by one person with it's not a very senior person, but anyway, it's someone that can work with AI, at least with what we have today. And they decided that, okay, it's enough, because actually now we can do what all that young people were doing, actually we can do everything just using AI. And it's true, so of course people will adapt, young people will adapt. A new generation is coming, totally different from what we have today, but this transition maybe will be a little hard for many different levels of people, I believe, depending on what your job is. So it's a point, an interesting point of discussion. But at the end of the day, we know that in the medium term, everybody will adapt in some way and will find their specific areas of opportunity. That's what always happens. We are humans, right? We human beings. We survive, right?
I think Ricardo's point's very salient between the sort of people at the end of the career and beginning the career and the people in the middle there. Lenka, what's your view?
Well, I want to talk about, I understand the point that America and Ricardo were raising about younger generations. I think it will be very different for them because they are simply growing in a different world. So for us, what is activity to be replaced by AI, for them, that would probably not be even a question. That would be like, why did you ever do it differently? But what I think is, when I look at future of project management profession and project managers and AI, I'm thinking more about augmentation of the abilities that we have today, because just going back to the idea of artificial intelligence as a tool that help to replace some of the activities with autonomous execution of these activities. But when we look at the current application of AI that we have today, it is still very narrow. The machine learning that we do, we train it on a narrow set of tasks to be automated or to be replaced by AI, or to be used in a way that it augment my abilities as a manager. So what I would, what advice I would give is simply to think always about a big picture. Think about human relationships. Think about what is really important on your project. Because if you want to use AI, you need to know what you want to ask it to do it for you, right? So I do not see that AI would replace project managers. I think it can definitely help them a lot. Definitely bring new challenges. Definitely give them some opportunities. For some people, it might be difficult to adjust. But I think that this is just another evolution that we experience with this disruptive technologies that AI certainly is. We need to evolve, we need to adapt.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I can see it. Americo's found the hand switch there.
It was by mistake, sorry.
Oh, okay, cool. Look, you can see that I've asked Marcia to join us. I can't believe we're down to the last 10 minutes. So just very quickly, I've asked Marcia just to see what questions have come up. Again, I've been awful in terms of keeping us to time, people. So I did want more Q&As, but Marcia, just tell us whether there's a flavor for one or two questions and what the first question is, and let's see if the panel can address that.
Okay, we have got quite a few questions. The first one I'll begin with is regarding challenges an organization might face apart from data quality and maturity issues when they attempt to implement AI in project management, and how to measure the ROI. That last bit is specifically
there's two questions there. So first of all, the challenges, and then how do you measure ROI? Lenka, do you want to come in there? So challenges beyond data, I think, is the first part of the question.
Yeah, well, there are all sorts of challenges because again, AI is a technology. It needs data to perform, but it's technology first and foremost. So we need to have infrastructure for that. Again, so it's make or buy decision. Either I want to build something inside that might be useful when I want to develop some applications that are proprietary for my company, that I want to have some sandbox, I want to play, I want to experiment, or I just want to buy solution which is ready, but still I need some infrastructure for that because the technology is consuming data, producing data, so there's infrastructure that must be in place. Another, when we look at human side, again, quite obvious challenge, people need to be educated, people need to upskill, reskill to be able to use the technology and to understand the technology, because it is a technology, it's not a magic box. So we still need to understand at least the basics, how does it work, what does it mean to implement it. Another thing which I believe will be very big challenge is the culture itself. Because we talk about that on this call as well, and that is, will ever AI replace me? So if I think it will, then maybe I would not support that much. It's implementation, right? So culture of transparency, culture of openness, culture of experimenting, learning is also very important. And then what I would say is also very important culture of embracing risks and basically being able to see the whole big picture and embracing everything that is happening around. So turning threats into opportunities.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Lenka. So both technical and people challenges. I'm going to cheat slightly and put Ricardo slightly on the spot in terms of the ROI part of the question. How do we measure the success of what we're proposing here?
Yeah, that's perfect. You can measure in different aspects. Okay, some of the most obvious and easier ways, it's by saving time, for example, saving time and the need for resources. For example, you measure, for example, the time you need to develop something, for example, for that sprint, and the time after using, and then you can see the benefits. And some of them, the benefit, it's something like 10 times. It's something like you spend 2 minutes instead of 5 hours on that. So this is one thing. The other thing that is a more long-term ROI, it's, for example, when you use it in a full project scope, then when you need to see, okay, what happened in terms of deadlines and meeting critical milestones. But that one, it's something that very few people have the answers already, because I would say this last wave of generative AI, it's very new. So people did not deliver the projects yet to see the final results yet. For example, I see and I know companies that are working towards that, and they are measuring. And what they did, just to give you an idea, this is a software development. They did 2 teams, one team using an all AI environment tools, and the other one using the traditional Scrum principle and this. And they are measuring over the months what will be the difference in terms of results. So they are spending more because they are doing 2 things in parallel. well to understand what is the real value and measuring that. This is one example. This is a real case, by the way.
Excellent, thank you for that. And Americo, you can pick on either of those questions in terms of readiness or ROI. And anything to from your perspective on either of those?
Let me see.
Oh, Americo, are you still with us? I don't know what other people are seeing, but I'm seeing a very astute Americo. It looks like you've got a slight challenge with the computer. So I'm going to move on. We've only got 5 minutes left. So Marcia, I'm sure there are a lot more questions. So we will look at those questions and share those. But I do want to come back to this takeaway point and the headlines. So we have 5 minutes left. So Lenka, in 60 to 90 seconds, Americo, you're back, which is fantastic.
Yes,
but
okay.
in 60 to 90 seconds, Lenka, what's your big headlines from this discussion about AI and project management?
Well, 60 to 90 seconds, that's not even enough to write the question to GPT to tell me, right? No, but my takeaway is that when we look, especially when we look at major breakthrough with technology and how it influenced the world, we see that it always, I mean, like, we are able to see that afterwards, but we always see that. Maybe we cannot predict all the impact at the moment when the change is happening, but then when in retrospect, we look back and they see that impact. And emerging technologies are influencing the world. They are influencing us as people. They are influencing our lifestyle, everything. So what I would suggest is take this another opportunity to embrace this technology, learn about it, experiment, play with it, and then think how you can use it for your future career and how you can use it to make your job as a project manager to be done better.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Lenka. Americo, now you've unfrozen. Come back to us. Tell us a beautiful takeaway for the audience.
Well, I see there is a whole world of opportunities ahead, right? We have no idea about all of them yet, but they are waiting for us, no doubt. And we have to keep our mind open for that, So Ricardo well said that it doesn't make sense to be reactive to all of this. We should be open-minded and embrace this change, because there is nothing that we can do about that. We just have to adapt and take the best we can, in terms of results.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Ricardo, sir, coming to you last in terms of a takeaway for people.
Yeah, I agree. I think people need to start using. People should not be afraid or resistant. But I want just to add one dimension that for me, I cannot finish this, is that we can do all of this, but we need always to keep a responsible mindset on everything we do, because with AI, there is a much easier room for you I would say, to make a non-ethical use of information, non-ethical use of data. And for me, this is a critical role of the project manager. It's to be like a guardian of, I would say, the ethical. For example, AI can be used in a very bad way. I did several posts last week about that, of people using this kind of technology to harm or to develop products to do that. And if we are developing these projects, it's because someone from our community is managing that project. So we need to do this in a very, very responsible way, because, things can go wrong widely, on this kind of technology.
Fantastic, and I think there's been several subjects that we've touched on today that you can see could almost become whole conversations in their piece. own right. I can't believe that we've been talking for 90 minutes. For me, it's absolutely sailed past. And I'm sure we could talk for another 90 minutes and another 90 minutes thereafter. However, the clock has stopped and we've got to come to an end. So couple of last points from myself. Do look out for that future event. You can see those details will be published soon. But just massive thank you for the time given from the panelists to hear about their thoughts around this AI in project management. So first of all, thank you, Americo. Thank you, Lenka, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Yeah, no problem at all. I was trying to tee you up.
The connection is a little bad right now.
No,
sorry.
No problem at all. Lenka, thank you for your time too.
Thank you for having us here.
Fantastic. And
thank you very much
again. Thank you so much, guys. We're now going to come to a halt and hopefully see you all again soon at some stage.